Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
It's all on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's all on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's all on you, it's all on me.
Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Hey, Jeff. I just got back from Pullman the other day, and I watched the Coug football team play a Mountain West team and just absolutely obliterate them. It was fantastic. Like, it was, just exact taking care of business. Shut them out. Just put points on the board. Or should I say goals? Goals on the board. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Different football.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was just talking about the last football game I saw in Pullman, which was on Sunday.
Played with a round ball.
Played with a round ball.
On a pitch.
On a pitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
They scored a touchdown.
They scored a touchdown.
I'll bet they could have punched it in from the 2-yard line.
I bet they could have. So, this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 128. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Newser.
Hello.
And, wow, here we are again.
Yes.
They
It's like
told
hello,
us, like, just
hello
wait.
darkness, my old friend, right? Like
what if they win? You'll just forget about all of this. You'll just forget about everything if they just win.
Yeah.
Well, did you consider that they might not win?
That's exactly it. It's like all the people who, so many reasons to criticize Nick Rolovich these days. And when the Garantano news came out Saturday morning that he was going to be the starter.
That was like the talk of all day, obviously.
Yeah. And so, Saturday morning, so Friday night is when word started getting around, right? Like we're on Slack Friday night and a couple of people are like, hey, I just heard this. I don't know if it's true. I've only heard it from a person. And then somebody else said, actually, I just heard the same thing from somebody. And then somebody else was like, so it started spreading pretty quickly, which, these things do. Rolovich was right about that. Like he said that last week. He was like, if I announce it to the team, it's going to get out. There's no way it's not getting out if I announce it to the team. So maybe I'll just wait. All right. Totally true. Started to get out Friday night.
What's wrong with telling the players that they're going to play football?
Yes.
I don't know what's wrong with that.
Well, it doesn't seem like that should be a problem, but it apparently is. And so it started to get out Friday night. Saturday morning it was confirmed. And,
confirmed by Jamie Vinnick.
Yeah. And, it just was, whoo, buddy. Whoo.
Yeah. So it was just starting off the day. We're in the tailgate. We're talking about this, I talked to a few people who saw practices. It's like, no, like there's no way that Garantano actually beat out Jaden DeLora. And so we're just like, what's going on here? This just seems like mind game shit. Like, it didn't make you feel very good. At the same time, you're like, well, we're riding with Garantano. Fuck the Tennessee fans. And then didn't take long to be like, God damn it. I know. I get it now.
I spent all day like being like, hey, maybe he'll be good. I don't know. Like, you never know. Gardner Minshew was supposed to be bad. And I know that's the easy comp, but it really does, fit to some degree. He was like pretty terrible at East Carolina. Like he had moments of brilliance and looked pretty awful and, at times and whatever. Right. So, but at least with him, the difference was that there was a sense that he clearly won the job. right? That he was clearly the best quarterback. I know, that Leach talked about how he sort of barely beat out Anthony Gordon, which, I mean, maybe he didn't Leach his mind. People who had been at practices were like, nah, Gardner is pretty clearly the guy. Okay, great. And so I was open to the possibility that, that it might be okay. And I even said that on Twitter, and people were, kind of getting mad at me because, basically I'm harshing their buzz, right? Because I thought that the way that Rolovich made the decision was totally messed up.
Yeah.
Like waiting until Friday night, right? And then, as Jamie reported it out, he compiled information from multiple sources, and they were sort of saying, "Hey, this was the reasoning. This idea that Garantano will." I think what they were trying to say was that somehow he'd be more efficient or more reliable or more or less unpredictable or something like that. Was why he was picked. And of course that didn't make any sense at all. And so it's just like the whole thing just made really no logical sense. Like why, if they really were that close, and we said this in the couple weeks leading up to it, right? Rolovich is insisting that they were neck and neck. Okay. So if they are neck and neck, truly neck and neck until the end, why would you not go with the younger guy with a higher upside? Why would you not, turn it over to the guy who you've got for, however many years. And,
right.
So nothing was sort of adding up, but, outside of that, it was like, all right, hey, let's give him a shot. And like you said, it took 4 series to be like, yeah, here we are.
Inaccurate throws and indecision in the pocket.
Yep.
In fairness, something he and Delora had to deal with was the offensive line.
Yes.
Not doing their job.
Not great.
So yeah, but he definitely, a big chunk of his passing yards were on Calvin Jackson making an absurd one-handed catch behind his back.
I know.
Which
That
is
was
crazy. Catches like that, usually look way better when you're watching it on TV and they can slow it down, but you could see in real time at the game, how amazing that catch was.
Yeah, totally
It
ridiculous.
It
catch.
looked unnatural. And again, that was 15 yards of his, 70 or whatever. I don't know. He didn't have that many.
Yeah.
I have the stats up. I guess I should know.
It was. So he had 2 catches, Garantano had 2.
He had 56 yards. So
yes, he had
about
2
a
passes
quarter.
that went for double digits, and one of them was that ridiculous.
It's a quarter of his yards were
Behind the
that
back
Jackson.
I know. And look, I'm not here to shit on the kid. It's he was trying to get one more chance to start, and Rolovich put him out there, and it's not.
And he didn't play well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. If he's not very good, that's not entirely his fault. It certainly seems like he worked hard over the summer at various training facilities and things like that to try and get better. Really seems like he legitimately has tried. He's just not very good. And so when Delora came in, it was like, oh yeah. I mean, he might not be a polished passer, and he may be sort of a one read guy right now, but he can make some interesting and exciting things happen.
He definitely made plays with his feet, obviously, that Garantano was not making.
And he definitely looked like he was saying "fuck you" to the whole staff as he was running around back there, like, "Yeah, you really fucked up. Look at me." And I don't blame him.
I will say another issue on top of the offensive line. We can talk about that a little bit more, but for neither receiver, and I think in particular Delora, because Delora, it seems like they're having him they're kind of wanting him to focus on that first read, because he didn't move to his second read very much, just as it looked. I'm just what I was looking at in real time. It looked like he was kind of bailing out of the pocket as soon as that first read wasn't there.
Yes,
and that first read wasn't there quite a bit, because the receivers, particularly the outside receivers, were struggling to get separation, and that was concerning.
Yep.
Against a Utah State defense. And then you have our offensive line, and then our quarterbacks being a little inaccurate. Delora definitely missed on a couple touchdown throws that he could have had.
Yep.
He dropped it in a little better, which last year we saw him do pretty well.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just
maybe he was a little
quite
amped
into
up.
it.
Maybe he was, I mean, he certainly looked amped up. I don't know if that explains away the inaccuracy,
Yeah.
but Yeah, very frustrating. Like the quarterback play is, I mentioned this when we talked about our season preview, and I've sort of said this multiple times. So, at the risk of repeating myself too many times, our fans who were optimistic about the season, really, really were counting on the offense to be every bit as good as it was most years under Leach. And I just like, man, with the quarterback situation, I just, we got so spoiled having, good to great, right? Quarterback play for like 6 years.
And wide receiver play too.
Yeah. But like quarterback is so important, so important. If you sit down and watch college football for any amount of time on a Saturday, you will see so many bad quarterbacks, right? So much bad quarterbacking at high level schools. Like I watched Penn State, Wisconsin, and I was like, oh my God, like these are two like top 20 teams, and both of them have quarterbacks that stink. It's like, oh my God, how does this happen? So we've just been so spoiled with that. I mean, even when it was bad, like Luke Falk bad in 2017, like he wasn't bad. He was just like not good, right? Like
Right.
that was as bad as it ever got for us. And we are now, sort of in our second straight year of it's not good. Like it's actually bad. And Delora, for all the things he did with his feet, which are great, he was not a good thrower. And that goes for, basically most of what we saw last fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was just, definitely concerning. Overall combined, they're 20 or 35 or 211 yards. Like that is kind of what we saw last fall. Like those are the numbers we'd often see out of Delora combined last fall. So that's not, we didn't get as many vertical plays as we wanted. Didn't really get any vertical plays passing. That we missed a few that could have been hit. I think Harris had a step on his man and the ball was a little late. We saw him overthrow, another one. So it's frustrating. And then before the game, what you're thinking is maybe against Utah State, we can just run the ball. It could be like when WSU played Idaho a few years back, when even in the air raid they just ran all over them. Because our best our best offensive players are probably the top two running backs, and so, but running backs got a total of 15 carries in the game. And then they each got a total of 3 pass catches. Obviously, there were, I think, about 4 failed shovel passes.
Yeah,
like just absolute disasters.
You weren't watching the television, but Bob Davie was nonplussed by all these fancy schmancy shovel passes. So
they were just so poorly. There was definitely a couple times where, like, if it could have been a well executed pass, they're definitely going to picked up some chunks. There was definitely another couple times where it was not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But
Utah State was being hyper aggressive, right?
Yep.
And so had you pulled it off, you might have gotten some big chunks, but they just, that's, Utah State was daring them to make them pay, and they just, they really about the only one was Borgie's run, right? Like where kind of everybody was close to the line of scrimmage. He turned the corner and he was gone. Other than that, man, we did not make them pay really at all for their aggressiveness, which was really disappointing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, there was a couple times it looked like towards the goal line they wanted, there was a play in the first half where Delora very clearly towards the goal line had they had like a hot read for the inside receiver, or no, it might have been Stripling on a slant. He didn't beat the guy, and Delora had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so we're getting a lot of these like one read plays, and Delora can run around and stuff, but when it's in tight spaces. But obviously, you go through that first half, it's 6-5. They doink a field goal. Garantano takes that safety. It's comical. It was 5-3 at one point. Like, it's just, you're like, what is this? But then they pick it up in the second half. Delora's moving the offense a little better. Borgie gets his long touchdown run. They get a couple touchdowns on the board. It's 20-11. They're driving again. You feel like they're going to put it away. And then They get Dolores scrambles, gets them down to the 2 for a first down. And then what happens? What the hell happens?
So I'm sitting in. I mean, here's what I want to know, because I'm going to tell you what we did when it happened, and then I want to hear what the crowd was like when you guys noticed what was happening. So I'm sitting in my living room with Brian Floyd. So we're hanging out watching the game, eating our pulled pork, drinking some beer. Well, I'm drinking the beer. Brian's just watching the game, and like all of a sudden I go, "Holy shit! Why is Cam Cooper in there?" And then I'm like, wait, did Delora get hurt? Like, did we miss that? Is he okay? And then the camera kind of backs out and does one of those like kind of deep shots, right? Where it's like you've got someone in the foreground and then someone in the background. And you can see Delora very clearly just sort of standing on the sideline, right? With his helmet on right next to Rolovich. And Cooper is in the huddle. And I'm just like, what is happening? What is happening? So, then they come out in the full house and I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing? So was there like a buzz in the crowd about like noticing that this was happening, or did people just kind of not really notice because it was so weird?
Yeah, it was very, so it was funny. Right before that, I was talking with a couple people next to me about the quarterback situation, about how Cameron, just he's third string, but he's not leaving, whatever. And then all of a sudden we look at the field, and we're like, wait, number 2, is Cam still number 2? Like, what the hell? Who is that? Is that Cam Cooper?
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, it is. And then they get in that shotgun wishbone, and you're like, what? Like, then you're like, wait, this looks like it's on purpose.
Totally.
Like, but everyone's still buzzing. Like, people are texting their friends. They're not giving them any information. They don't even know what's going on. They're like, oh, text my friend that I watch on TV. They must have information there. No. Like, no one knows what's going on. Jaden comes out for 2 plays. Utah State was not fooled.
No.
They try to hand to Borgie a couple times out of this and go
fooled
nowhere.
At all. Oh my God.
And then on third down, suddenly we're bringing Delora back in, but there's confusion. He stops, talks to both quarterbacks, and then they lose 5 yards on a delay of game.
Right.
And now you're trying to score from the 9 or whatever.
Yep.
Where you were down, you had first and goal from the 2.
Yep. First and goal from the 2. You went backwards 4 yards on 2 Borgie handoffs, and then you went backwards 5 yards on a delay of game.
They're on the 11.
So they were on the 11. And it was 3rd and 11, and then of course the the passing play didn't really ever seem to have a chance.
No. Utah State had it covered.
What's crazy is like how quickly the game went from, okay, this is over, we're walking away with it. It was weird, it wasn't great, but you can feel okay with the game. To, oh no, like.
Yeah.
No. Why are we fucking around? Like we're not good enough to fuck around. Like we're not good enough for that. And of course, Nick Rolovich gets on his news, his press availability this week and says, well, trying to get it on film, which is like fucking peak coach galaxy brain, right? Like, no, let's not worry about winning the fucking game in front of us. Let's do something so that like, somebody a month from now has to spend 15 minutes in practice preparing for it. It's like, oh my God. And you just like, that was the original sin, right? Like once you did that was it. And it was all, fruit from the poison tree.
And he said something like, oh, Jaden had been taking some hits. It's like, he plays football.
Yeah.
Like what And why was it suddenly fine to bring him in on an obvious passing down?
Okay,
on 3rd and 11. Like what?
I have a theory.
Are you suddenly not worried about the hits anymore? Like what's going on with that?
I have a theory on this. Okay, so and by the way, I'm being charitable toward Rolovich, which I'm not generally inclined to do, but trying to figure out what he meant by that. I'm guessing in order for that package to work, the quarterback has to be an option, right? So I'm guessing that whatever play they called, or plays they called, involved a potential quarterback keep, right? Pull it out and follow the running back, or pull it out and, dive up the middle, or whatever. Like, so my guess is that part of the package was the quarterback being able to keep. He really didn't want Delora running it up into the middle on purpose, right? And maybe getting hurt after running it up into the middle on purpose on a designed option play. And that was why he pulled him out. Now, is that a good reason? No.
No.
Right? Like even if that's the reason, even if that's why, still a bad reason, because Cooper clearly was like, he wasn't going to read anything. He was just going to give the ball to Borgie.
That was going to Borgie the whole way.
Because someone said, so I didn't pay that close attention. Someone said if he had pulled it on the first one, that he would have walked into the end zone. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't rewatch it. I have no idea. I have no reason to doubt the people.
No intention of rewatching that.
Yeah, I have no reason to doubt the people who said that. So, but just logic would tell you, okay, third string quarterback comes in to run this special package. Like, especially a guy like Cooper, who we've watched play, and he's not the most decisive fellow. And it's like, it's a guy who's made a lot of mistakes in his career. I mean, the last thing you want to do is pretend to hand the ball off to Borgie, try to pull it out, have the ball squirt out somehow by accident, or maybe he fumbles while he's trying to barrel his way. I mean, just whatever. So what's he going to do? He's going to give it to his stud because that's what you do. Right? Doesn't even matter what the read is. He's going to give it to the stud. And that's why you don't bring in the guy who hasn't fucking played all night. Stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, the original sin is the galaxy brain bullshit. When the game is not in hand, it's the third quarter. I think it was a late third.
Yep.
Maybe it was just start of the fourth, late third.
It was the start of the fourth. Yep.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was like right at the very start of the fourth. Like we were down there.
Yep.
On the goal line when it switched over.
Yep.
But yeah, like the game's not in hand. Now is not the time to fuck around.
You're not up by 3 touchdowns. Like,
yeah, if you're at that point, you're up by 3 touchdowns. The game's over. Do whatever you want.
Fine.
But you're up by 9. Like it's so frustrating. Because if they do get a touchdown there, it's Utah State's going to need 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions, which they very well could have gotten.
I mean, they could have,
but still, it's not. They need 2 touchdowns to win.
Right.
They need it. That's all they needed, and so it was. That was frustrating. We didn't mention that one of those touchdowns before was Donovan Ollie, which was a great play by both Delora and Ollie. Great throw and great catch and run in.
Yep.
But and then Max Borgie. So you had good feelings, and then we were driving again, and Delora makes another play, and you have good feelings. Like the vibes are going good, and then from that moment on, you're just confused, and then Utah State starts moving the ball, and it all falls apart. After Utah State scored the first touchdown, I was like, I see what's coming here.
Yep.
Like, it was even when they got past midfield.
Oh my God. It was all over Twitter. People were like, this is happening, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, once they got past midfield on that drive, because I think they started out with, like, some crappy runs, and you're like, oh, thank you for just running the ball with, like, 8 minutes left. Like, what are you doing? And then they broke one, and then they just kept hitting plays, They score, and I had absolutely zero confidence that WSU was going to even get a first down and run some clock. Like it was just
No.
And like you said, I think you said in your post, like a lot of people, what were people yelling outside the stadium? Like, why weren't they giving it to Borgie in that last drive? It's like, well, like you said, they weren't going to run out the clock with 3 straight runs, and plus they had some very safe passes that were going to run the clock anyway. And I think, like, Borgie is your best player. Travell Harris is not that far away in terms of playmaking ability.
Right.
So they're trying to get your hands in the ball in Travell Harris's hands in space and see what he can do, maybe hoping to catch Utah State off guard because they're expecting us to run.
Yep.
Utah State was not fooled. They shut those down. I think they ended up in like a 3rd and long, and you're like, this is not going to happen. They were pretty terrible in 3rd and longs. a lot of the
Well,
day.
it wasn't even third and long. I think it was kind of a third and medium. It was like third and
It was like third and
6
5 or
or third and
something, yeah.
5, which, you were like, maybe you can make this happen. What kills you there a little bit is you throw an incompletion at that point, and then the clock
Yeah.
stops. And I get why people are like, it's grumble, but.
Well, I mean, if they run into the line twice and it's 3rd and 5, they're still going to throw on that
Right.
play.
Well, you had to have a first down. Like,
And I get, you're like, maybe Borgie can make a play. And yeah, I get it, But also, they didn't, if you want to be mad, just be mad that they didn't give the ball to Borgie more and McIntosh more throughout the game. And what Rolovich said is that they had some negative plays, and yes, that's true, they did.
Half of his runs were negative, though. Like,
But
that's the
two
thing.
of those negative plays were that stupid
Yes, that is true.
wishbone formation on the goal
That
line.
is true.
And yes, he was getting stopped, but I mean that's kind of like with this offense, and it was the same with the air raid. You're getting like 0, or you're getting a nice little, like it was like you're just kind of at risk of those plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wouldn't have been confident in that offensive line either, but at some point, like maybe throughout the game, like there was long stretches when Borgie wasn't in the game, like entire drives and things like that, which is very weird to me. He's very clearly your best offensive player. You probably should figure out. And they obviously were trying to do it with the shovel passes. They had a nice screen pass to Borgie, and they had a nice screen pass to McIntosh.
Yep.
So you kind of wonder, like, why didn't we do that more? Why didn't we do that, like more traditional screen passes versus those weird shovel passes? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, people that you're like, how do you get the ball to Max Borgie more? You should probably be frustrated with the offensive philosophy to begin with.
Right.
Because what people were hoping Borgie to get 20 to 25 touches, that is just not something that happens very often in this offense.
No.
Like a single running back does not
No.
get 20 to 25 touches. And it seems very clear that he wasn't going to get that.
No, it's like 15 to 20 is like tops on the top end. Right? I mean, if you're only running the ball 40 or 35% of the time, which is about what it's going to be in a run and shoot, you're still, and that was the thing that, I thought was sort of interesting was everybody kind of like, oh, very excited, for Borgie to run the ball. And I also am excited to watch him run the ball more, but he was almost certainly going to get fewer touches than what he was getting in the air raid. In the air raid, he could very easily get 20 plus touches in a game.
Yeah, because he get like 8 catches and 12 carries.
Right. Or the other way around sometimes. Like he could easily be pushing 20 touches in a game.
Yeah, we saw like James Williams put up huge
Yeah.
catch numbers in his final year.
So I get it. Like, I totally get it. You want to see him run the ball. He's an excellent runner. Like, I totally get it.
And he prefers to run out of the
But
backfield.
you're probably not getting more touches out of him overall in this offense than what you were getting before. I mean, I on the one hand, I agree that, give Borgie the ball, let him see if he can do something. On the other hand, I'm like, did you see the offensive line? that was reminiscent of any performance where Mike Leach, made them go face the media. Like that was,
or run in the sand pit. Or
I mean,
something,
it was truly one of the worst offensive line performances I've seen in years. And that, I mean, UW not
It's relative
Apple
to
Cup
competition, right?
Apple Cup notwithstanding, but it's like, there aren't very many teams that have done, and it's not like we took,
But there's no Vita Vea.
yeah. I mean, it's not like we
in the
took a
middle
ton
of
of sacks, but my God, the quarterbacks were under pressure all night. They couldn't run the ball. It was, I mean, really, our best running attack was, quarterback scrambles. I mean, even Garantano had a couple of scrambles.
We've seen this with Delora. Like last year, they had pretty good sack numbers, but a lot of it was like
Just
Delora
him.
does
Yeah,
not
escaping.
take sacks.
Yeah.
Like he just runs away. Like he's very shifty,
Yeah.
and very fast.
Yep.
But it's the offensive line. It was very early in the game. You saw that they were not dominating, and that kind of signaled to you that this wasn't going to be like a special night where Borgie gets a bunch of carries just because we're able to run it down their throat. After the first 2 didn't hit, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then Garantano, slow start, all that stuff. It's just, the offensive line is kind of the low key, like people, and that's what's frustrating is this staff had 18 offensive scholarship linemen when they got the job.
Yep.
And those weren't necessarily like high recruits, but out of 18, you have Abe Lucas.
Yeah.
And you still have Liam Ryan, but like it's like,
in that,
what's going on?
That definitely that's the biggest concern that I had coming out of the game. I think Delora can get better. I think the receivers can get better. I mean, not that I don't think the offensive line can get better, but they were so putrid that I'm like, how is that possible? How does this happen? Like they are full of veteran guys. I mean,
I know
four out of the five guys. Now I know Brian.
Utah State definitely added a bunch of dudes on the defensive
No
line,
doubt.
but those dudes weren't necessarily like Patrick Joyner had 2 tackles, 2 TFLs, I guess. So they were making plays, but still, I mean, these are guys that didn't play at other Power 5 schools and transferred over. So our Power 5 offensive linemen should be able to handle that.
What it looked like to me was it looked like they had us scouted to a T, is what it looked like to me, because they were consistently, blitzing into the correct gaps. Just kind of. I mean, it was almost like they knew where the ball was going to go, particularly on running plays. So I don't know if there was something that they saw in the scouting that sort of tipped them off a little bit or what, but I mean, it looked really bad. And, you would think that the guys that we've got would be able to physically overwhelm the guys that they got. And that just did not happen at all. And so that really worries me going forward. We won't have a clear answer on that until USC. I mean, I guess they could play really terrible again this weekend against Portland State, and it'll just be like, well, yeah, okay, we're really screwed. Or they could be a little better this weekend, and again, we won't really have an answer until USC. So, extremely concerning. Same thing with the defensive line. To have 0 sacks. And really, as far as I could tell, they didn't have any pressures until the last drive. They did have a couple of pressures on the last drive, but really didn't have any other pressures otherwise. That's just like inexcusable.
Yeah, you had Ron Stone had half a tackle for loss. That's the only defensive lineman to add any sort of TFL.
Yeah, it was not what we were told to expect. And again, if you can't generate any pressure, any push at all against that team, like how are you going to do that against anybody else? And I was already not sold at all on our interior defensive line. So it didn't shock me that they didn't, necessarily play great. But the ends, like between Stone and Jackson and Taylor, like those guys should be able to get after the quarterback, and the fact they could not is massively, massively concerning. So I don't know. Maybe that changes this week, but man, if the lines play like that, if that is truly what they are, we're looking at like a 1 or 2 win season probably. Like that's what we're staring at.
These opposing lines aren't getting any better or getting any worse. I mean, maybe next week maybe,
but that's it.
It's concerning. Maybe it was just like a one-off, like they're just screwing up their assignments, whatever. But that always makes you concerned about.
Well, yeah, it's like okay, so they were just it was assignment things. We can correct that. Well, what the fuck was happening? Why the fuck did they not know their assignments?
That during the Wolf years a lot. People are missing their assignments a lot.
Well, why are they missing their assignments? Like, isn't that what coaches are for? Like, it's so, we make so many excuses. As fans, we make so many excuses, and it's like, don't make excuses. They fucking sucked. And so either A, they're not very talented, or B, they're poorly coached. That's it. Those are your options. So take your pick. Whichever,
or a little bit of both.
Or a little bit of both, but whichever one makes you feel better, pick the one that makes you feel better, but it's one of them. And I don't know. So, I mean, last year we made so many excuses. They didn't have a real camp, and there was no spring ball, and can't really expect them to play their best when they're okay. Fine,
they're low on players.
You got a full fucking roster. You just had spring. You had spring practice. And you had a full fucking fall camp, and that's the shit that you come up with. So spare me this time. Okay, see, now I'm getting all worked up. I was like not.
Finally.
I was not worked up about this. I'm getting worked up now though. So.
Well, and then what we got to talk about now is that second half defense and how this is
again
become a trend
again
under Dickard, and obviously last year we're kind of like, well, they were low on
yeah,
players,
they're not very
like you
deep,
said.
and
but what we
okay.
saw against Oregon State, Oregon, what we saw against Utah just like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 games. Second half was much worse than the first.
They were able to look really good for a half. They held Utah State to a field goal in the first half.
Really low yards per play. They had 2 turnovers.
And then in the second half, they put up 23 points. Or 20 points, 21, 3 touchdowns. All right, it's 2 touchdowns and 2-point conversion and field goals, but whatever. It's just and they were moving the ball, and then in the fourth quarter when they needed to move the ball, they did.
Yeah, right down the field. Now it was small plays. It wasn't explosives for the most part, but still, it was
people were mad on that last drive. Rolovich calling a timeout or whatever to stop the clock on a running clock. But Utah State had already ran a ton of time off the clock before then.
Yeah.
It was not. I think in the moment it seemed bad. But I bet if we went and looked at it probably was I think the clock was pretty low.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating to do that. But if you think you're giving up a touchdown because of the alignment right then, then you probably need to call timeout.
I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either. But Utah State wasn't even managing the clock that well on that drive.
Right.
But what happened was that pass interference, they got him down in the 7, and then
which was totally legit.
Yeah. It was totally legit. People, you're mad, can be mad. There was maybe some iffy calls before, but that was definitely pass interference. Yeah. The corner grabbed to avoid being burned into the touch because the guy would have been wide open.
Yeah, it would have been
in the end zone if he didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once it was that, it was like, oh God, now we have to make a stop inside the 7, and it didn't take Utah State very long to finish after that. But yeah, the defense, it's a concern now. These kind of breakdowns in the second half.
Yep.
Against this was not a good offense last year.
Nope. And maybe it'll be better. I don't know. We talked about that. There's a possibility.
It has. There's a good chance it will be. But
come on, are we gonna? We're not gonna sit here and say this is a better offense than, just about any offense we're gonna face in the Pac-12. Well, maybe not Cal, but they look really bad offensively. But it's there's concern everywhere, right? I don't know if there's any part of this you walk away from the game, and that was kind of the thing. When they were going to win, it was okay, they're going to win, and that's great. But I'm also I don't know that I feel good about any of this. Like any of the things that you'd want to see, you weren't seeing really, And so it was it's certainly not to a. Not to a degree to where you start going, okay, I could see how this is going to grow. I could see how I could see how this is going to develop. And it was just sort of okay, we kind of overmatched a lesser team, and all right, and then of course we lost. It's okay, well now there's really nothing positive to take from this. When I do my Monday column, I was trying to think who am I going to highlight here? For the what we liked and who impressed, and I went with the student section for what we liked,
which was impressive.
Yeah,
they showed up and they were hyped. It was almost completely full. I have not seen a Labor Day student crowd that good ever.
So totally awesome.
Maybe since when I was in school, 2003.
They were super excited to get back into Martin Stadium, which I think is totally adorable and really awesome. And then, of course, the football team had to, take a giant dump on the field. But so that was where I was struggling to that degree. The who impressed, I went with Donovan Ollie of he of 2 catches, right? Like the 1 touchdown was cool. But it's like, that's how just shitty everybody was. Like, there just wasn't anybody. I guess it could have gone with Jalen Watson because, damn it, he allowed 1 catch instead of 0. It's like,
Yeah.
But other than that, man, I mean, nobody was good. Nobody was good. That sucks.
Yeah, it's frustrating to have like such a poor performance out of the gate, and where, like you alluded to in it wasn't a run in the mill upset because they just got beat.
Yep.
They got outgained. They had maybe only averaged 5.9 yards a play. They held them to 5.4, but still, that's not a big difference. Not the difference that you're looking for in a matchup like that.
Nope.
And just the coaching failures, the weirdness around the quarterbacks. There's just a whole lot of just irritating stuff, and some things that you feel like kind of are portends to things that are coming, and it's just if this defense can't stop Utah State in the fourth quarter, then I mean, who can they stop in the fourth quarter? I don't know. Like
maybe Portland State.
Once they maybe Cal.
Maybe Cal.
maybe UW.
Yeah,
well, okay, so
yeah,
that's kind of like what makes you so mad.
Of the many things that make us mad.
Right as our game kicks off, UW throws a game-losing interception against Montana at
Husky Stadium.
Lose at Husky Stadium. Obviously, they would never play
No,
Montana
of course not. But
in Missoula, but yeah, at home they lose, and you're just like, hell yeah. And then all we had to do was beat Utah State, and then it was a perfect day, and then we were just going to laugh and laugh laugh at UW.
That's right.
And we can't. I mean, we still can, but we cannot.
No, I went to work today, and it was like nobody was saying anything about anybody else's team. It was just like, okay, I won't say anything about your team. You don't say anything about my team, and we'll just go on with our day. Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's so frustrating because we could have just been,
I know.
like, seriously, guys, Montana.
I know.
But like, oh my gosh, so it's so frustrating for many reasons. But yeah, it's just there's nothing to convince me that Rolovich is a poor leader and isn't.
That he's not a poor
fit
leader
for the job. Yeah, it's nothing convincing that he is not a poor leader. And so it's just, which at least you could hope maybe he did some football things right, but he didn't do anything football things right, and he's doing everything else wrong. Yep. And that's just frustrating. And so you're starting to think maybe these are just personality traits of his.
Well, one thing that I know from the Leach years is that, these things always kind of tend to come out after somebody leaves, right? Is, okay, well, the players didn't always see eye to eye with Leach, like, obviously, right? They didn't always, like, his little quirky things or whatever, they didn't always appreciate those things or whatever. But here's what they knew. They knew they were going to win most of their games. They knew that he was a good coach. They knew that, that they were going to get the most out of him. I mean, no player is, I shouldn't say no player. Very few players are ever happy with their coach all the time. It's a transactional relationship, right? Like, I think, fans kind of have this dream of, the coach who cares so much about his players, and it's so nice, and it's like a big family, and it's not. I mean it is, but it's not. Like, it's a very transactional relationship. These guys have been brought in to do a job, and the coach is being paid handsomely to do a job, and as long as everybody's doing a job, then everybody gets along. But you may not be doing a job, and as soon as you're not doing a job, you're not getting along, and you might be going somewhere else. So it's not like every player got along with Leach all the time, but there was a sense of, okay, we have a shared mission and we're going to be okay. And we're going to do this. And so even when Leach was doing stuff that made people shake their heads, the players still had a sense of, okay, business is business and Leach is Leach and, it's no big deal. Right. With this, I am legitimately, concerned that he's already lost the team. We saw...
It's not just the team. I feel like he's...
Yeah.
Just for what I've heard is that he's just lost the entire athletic department, honestly.
Yep. He, we said that the original sin was that, that goal line package, right? Like the team just the word I think you used was confused. And it's like everybody just looked discombobulated. That's a good word. Discombobulated for the rest of the game. Like it was just like this thing is, wait, what's happening now? Why are we doing this? And honestly, it is the kind of thing, not to be, super over dramatic about it, but it is the kind of thing that causes players to just lose faith in their coaches. Like, what in the fuck are you doing? Like, first of all, we already know. So this has kind of been part of the rumor mill. And so I haven't reported this out. So don't everybody who listens to this, take this and run with it. But look, like the rumor, we've heard rumors, and the rumor is that, the players were pretty pissed off about the quarterback choice. They were not pleased and they were not happy. And so they're not happy. And then Garantano comes out, doesn't play well. Delora ends up coming in, essentially saves their bacon, right? Saves Rolovich's bacon, plays well enough to lead the team to an okay lead, and really down to the 2-yard line where it's like, okay, let's punch it in. And now we've got a 16-point lead and things are pretty safe at that point. And so despite everything that happened, despite the vaccination garbage, despite the quarterback games, despite everything, they were going to survive. Okay. And then all of a sudden they do this, and you can 100% look right back to that decision and go, that's when we lost the game. Like that right there is when we lost the game. Now, did the defense cough it up after that? Yes. But I'm telling you, that is the kind of stuff, playing games with quarterbacks and doing cutesy shit at the goal line and all sorts of stupid stuff like that is the kind of stuff that causes you to lose locker rooms. You lose teams over that stuff. And when the game was over, there were players running to the locker room. I wrote about Abe Lucas because that was the one that, Pac-12 networks happened to catch on TV. But it's like he looked like he was going to murder someone. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like he had a look on his face like legitimately I would not want to be anywhere near that man because he is a very large man and he is very mad. And I'm like, you just generally don't see that even after games like that where you puke it up or you lose in a tough way. I mean, you didn't see that after UCLA last year, right? I mean, guys hang their head, they trudge back to the locker room, they feel shitty, whatever. They don't look like they're ready to fight someone or break some things. Like there has to be more going on for that to happen. And I am just like, man, it's where there is smoke, there's fire, and players will only deal with stuff for so long. And then when you put it in the context of, the vaccination stuff, obviously, but, you look back to last year, all the upperclassmen who transferred out, like veteran guys who transferred out, and you're going, right? Like some of them, who left, like, say, Skylar Thomas, you're like, well, you didn't play very well anyway, so, probably no big deal. But there were other guys, Will Rogers or whatever. I mean, it's like, Jameer Calvin, goes down to Mississippi State, lights it up down there this weekend. Tay Martin, that one was a little different because he was just like, he just needed an opportunity to play. But Cassidy Woods, granted he was, he plays at Northern Colorado, but it's also like he had, 4 catches for damn near 100 yards and a touchdown. So, guys were just sort of like, you almost have to wonder how many players were leaving just because they looked at their coach and went, this is a joke. This guy's a joke. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. We're not doing this. I'm not doing this for that guy. There's just so, it just never made sense that so many guys left, and maybe they had nothing to do with that, but man, you start putting all the evidence together and you just start wondering did all these players, essentially know what the score was, right? Like they were just like, I can see where this is going. I'm getting out of here before I waste, any more of my life with this disaster. And, here we are. So I mean, I guess we'll see this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if they bounce back this weekend, regardless, but
Well, yeah,
You know.
I mean,
I don't know how long that bounce can last. We'll see, I guess.
right. Overall, probably time for us to take a break, but I think, yeah, overall, just what can you say? What a piece of shit start of the
Yes.
season. Like, just from Friday night when the QB stuff started coming in on.
Yep.
From a football perspective, from a Pullman perspective, maybe I'll talk about it a bit at the end of the podcast. That was
Yeah.
fantastic, but like, I'll talk about that later. But from a football perspective, extremely disappointing. And then on top of the off the field stuff, it's not like very fun to be a WSU football fan
No.
at the moment in terms of, actually supporting the coach and the team, and obviously support the players, but it's kind of hard to support the coach at
Yep.
the moment. But, so maybe we'll take a break. We'll talk about this new commit that we finally got a commit. Maybe we'll talk a little about the soccer match that I saw live and in person, which was incredible. I'll talk about what it was like to be back in Pullman. And so, but first, we'll pay the bills, as they say.
And we're back.
So, Jeff,
Yes.
my weekend started off really
Yeah,
well.
it did.
Because I got to stop in Ellensburg on my way over at Pretty Fair Beer.
Yes.
Like a legitimate, and I now I have seen it for myself, a legitimately good, legitimately beer nerd bar in downtown Ellensburg.
Yes.
Which I had not been in a while. Legitimately great beer bar in downtown Ellensburg. And now, obviously, this is a paid advertisement, but I can, as a beer nerd, I can vouch for this place as a great place to go to grab a beer on your way to Pullman, whatever. Maybe if you live in Kittitas County, just a great spot. I will say it was pretty awesome, pretty great to meet Carissa and Tyler, who own and operate. Tyler is a Coug. Chris is adopted Coug now, of course. And so they proudly run this as Coug. They showed the game on Saturday night for as poorly as maybe that went, but still they're going to be showing the game on next Saturday. They're going to be showing the Seahawks on Sunday. So they're opening early on Sunday to show the Seahawks at 9:30. Apparently they're doing happy hours now after 8 p.m. $1 off beers, $3 off their apps.
Speaking my
Their apps are
language.
good, man. I am a big fan of dips. Like I could live on chips.
It's
and
true.
dip.
I've seen it.
And they have some good dips. They got a buffalo chicken dip. They got a bean dip. I tried those. Very good. I could definitely live just on chips and dip. But yeah, they had me taken care of from a Pilsner Fest perspective. We just sat and talked about beer for a while. That was fun. I was able to get a couple Pilsners from Lowercase. Took one to go, had one there. They have these great relationships. So in talking to them, what Chris and Tyler do is they don't serve any beer that directly distributes to Ellensburg. So they literally have beer that you cannot find anywhere else in Ellensburg. They drive to Bellingham, to Seattle, to Olympia to get beers from Holy Mountain, from Structures, from and they drive to Spokane, Lumberyard. I talked about them being an up and coming brewery. They went to get Huckleberry Fuzz Sour. I'm always down for something Huckleberry. They went Mexican lager from Lowercase, very under the radar, great brewery, Lowercase, that I was really impressed with them that they had identified them as one of the breweries they want to come in, because that's just a quality brewery that doesn't get hype, but it's just everything they make is good. You know, they went to Stoop in Ballard and got Stoop in the Meantime IPA. They're bringing Dwinell from Goldendale up. You know, they're going to Skookum. They're going to all these places, getting the barrel aged beers from there. Like, just doing great work. Just putting in so much effort to create a very great curated tap list and a curated bottle and can cooler. They had some great beers in the cooler, some barrel aged beers, some barrel aged stouts, saisons, all of that. Like, so I'm speaking genuinely right now. Like, it's like, I was really impressed, and I'm excited. I'll stop there every weekend, hopefully, if you know, and plus, shout out to Jim, our listener, who came in as I was talking to Carissa and Tyler and said, "Hey, I know you. That's cool that you're here too." And so that was fun. So I'm glad you Cougs are going. You know, be like Jim. Go. You know, they were really excited to see a Coug pull up. Jim's car was all decked out. That was really cool. We were all excited about that. So, you know, you're gonna have fun there. You're gonna eat good food. You're gonna have a good time. Right now they're 21 plus, but I think they're trying to get that changed pretty soon. But like, I'm really excited now about this sponsorship, because now it feels more like synergy to me. It's a perfect match for our personalities. And I'm looking forward for you to make it out to Pretty Fair Beer in Ellensburg, so you can meet them, Jeff. You can check out this tap list, and I'm hoping other Cougs. Now that I've been there, 100%, just go that. They were joking. That's what the Downtown Ellensburg Business Association says. Like, go that extra mile beyond all the fast food restaurants. Go get a nice beer.
Yeah.
On your way, take a break from the road. Highly recommend. And maybe stop, watch a Seahawks game on your way back, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great spot.
Yeah. I can verify the fact that you would not say all of that if it wasn't true. And I would hope that our listeners would know that you take your beer very seriously, and that you would find a different way to dance around that if those things were not true. So I can say that for sure.
Yeah. So Pretty Fair Beer, Ellensburg.
I'm excited to stop by there at some point.
Proudly Coug owned and operated. Yeah, we'll have to do it. You know, it's not. You know, it's just in Ellensburg. It's not really that long of a trip if we just want to go. If you want to go meet them.
I suppose that is true.
Yeah. So anyway, so what are you drinking right now?
Yeah. So I got a Matchless Mexico Gold Lager. That's what I'm having. So this is Tuesday, and it was Taco Tuesday. So I figured Mexico
Very
Gold
nice.
Lager would do the trick. Nice little 4% Mexican lager.
Very nice. Very, very special beer now to me.
That's right.
You, so I could ask my friends Marty and Corey to be in our wedding. I've been doing it with Modelo's. We didn't have a Modelo, but you had the Mexico Lager, and I just, because they were at your house for a cookout.
No,
Or
it
actually,
was a
legitimate
barbecue, man.
because it was a legitimate barbecue because you
There
were
were
smoking
ribs.
the meats. Those are ribs and those,
the pork belly burn ends.
Pork belly burn ends.
Yes.
Delicious. But yeah, I was able to write, in Spanish, will you be in my wedding on that? So go Mexico, Mexico Gold Lager from Matchless. Matchless, one of those breweries that Pretty Fair drives to Tumwater to get their beer and bring it back.
Yeah, they're
to
pretty
Ellensburg.
out of the.
You would not be
they're
able to
pretty
get their
out of the
beer.
way there in Tumwater. Like it's not a. I mean, it's not like it's like a hard place to find, but it's not. It's not like it's 2 seconds off the freeway either.
Yeah, and there's the traffic
No,
ain't fun going to
it's
Olympia.
not.
But you can just go to Ellensburg and get some Matchless beer. I am drinking. Well, I started out with. So as you know, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you know I was celebrating Pilsner Fest this weekend, and so I still have a few more Pilsners left over. So I figured I'm going to keep riding Pilsner Fest, even though it's officially over. But Pilsner Fest is in your heart. You can.
Yeah, I mean, I
celebrate
think
it
we
at
should
any
point
time.
out that Pilsner Fest is not like like there was not an actual festival happening.
Well, okay, so I did not make this up, which a lot of people may think. Seattle Beer School, Bottle Works Beer, couple bars in Seattle. So, like, there was a legitimate, like, there was an event at in Seattle at the one in Hillman City, the bar in Hillman City. It's I can't Hillman City Beer Bar at Slowboat Tavern. Sorry, at Slowboat Tavern, they actually had an event on Thursday night, and then Bottle Works was having like pilsners and stuff on tap all weekend. But then I went and like picked up a package, so they had like a little game to play with a spin the wheel. Which if you look at my thread on Instagram, you can see what all that's about. And thank you for everyone for participating with me. That was a blast. But yeah, so it's not an actual like you weren't going to like a park and there's like 50 pilsners on tap or whatever. It's just kind of like a thing that like some people know about and they think it's fun and whatever. It was to draw attention to just some charities. There's in particular, let me just get that one. It's COVID-19 Mutual Aid, which is just an Instagram account that I'll just tweet out, individuals in need, that you can help out. But so it was
Awesome.
for that. But so one of the pilsners that I have left is from Ferment Brewing Company. It's in Hood River. So lagers are bottom fermented, beers and ales are top fermented, and so they put bottom ferment when it's a lager on their because they're ferment, so it's the bottom ferment. That's how you know it's a lager. It's called a Hana Pils. So it's a Japanese style pilsner. So it's pretty tasty, very clean, very crisp. I had a few pilsners from Ferment this weekend. I was very impressed. And then also now I'm just having a classic Heater Allen Pils, which is all around delicious. One of the best pilsners you can find in the Northwest and pretty easy to get. So yeah, Pilsner Fest lives on. I will be celebrating it more and more, but yeah, so yeah.
That's awesome.
And this, as always, if you haven't figured out, this segment is sponsored by
Pretty Fair
Beer in Ellensburg.
Yeah.
Proudly run and owned by Cougs. Go Cougs. And so, Pretty Fair Beer. How about, let's now talk about this recruit, the first recruit. Do you want to try to say his name?
Nope.
Or?
I do know that he is the cousin of the Clemson quarterback, whose name I have heard repeatedly and still can't pronounce. So I am not going to. And
then also the cousin of the number one edge rusher in the class of 2023, who is the Clemson quarterback's brother. It's I'm not even gonna try. But because like Tai, probably Tai, I imagine. Isn't
it like Wigalele? Or something like that.
Wigalele?
Yeah.
Like probably Tai.
I think it's something like that. I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure that I'm screwing it up. And so please forgive me if you know the pronunciation or you are related or you are actually our recruit. I'm sorry. I will learn it at some point. I promise. I just haven't done so yet. So forgive me.
So he comes in from Mater Dei, which is, of course, a famous
football
high school.
factory.
But looks pretty under the radar, or at least to the recruiting services. Has no ratings to speak of. I'm sure he'll have one in the next couple of days. if he doesn't yet. Interestingly, so he apparently visited this past weekend. Also held an offer from Utah State, but
and UNLV.
By
the way, I want to point out that Coug Fan labeled him long and athletic.
Stay on brand.
Long, athletic DL from storied Mater Dei Verbals to WSU.
So he's got good size, like 6'4", 255 high schooler. That's a good place to start. If there is athleticism there, then he could be a legit edge rusher. I haven't watched any video from him yet. can't tell you. And
Yeah, I was
even
gonna
if I
say.
did, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
You shouldn't trust
neither
my
of us have
judgments
any
anyway.
particular insight there. He was on his official visit during this game, so that I mean, if that didn't scare him off, then I mean, it's awesome. Apparently, he liked whatever else happened.
If it was like NCAA football 2005, he would have committed to Utah State.
It's so true. I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, I don't know. I hope he's awesome. They're calling him a sleeper, so that that's just code language for had no major offers before this one.
Yeah, code language for we didn't even realize he was being
we didn't
recruited
even
by
realize
anyone.
he was a legit prospect. But I mean, I guess that's good because we hadn't had a commit since June. We'd kind of been talking about, we'd kind of been talking about how, maybe that was correlated to all the garbage, swirling around the program. Maybe it's related, maybe it's not. I don't know. But it's sort of like too many things all pointing in the same direction, right? So the recruiting class is, I want to say it's 11th in the conference. One of the things about it,
It currently says 81st natural.
a big reason for that is not necessarily the quality of the recruits. It's really more the lack of recruits, right? Lack of commitments at this point. I mean, we're, really just a few months away from the early signing period, and we only have, I think, 8 commits, right? And not necessarily you'd expect to have, like 20 at this point, but you'd certainly expect to be in the double digits. And so to have, nobody committing for a couple months and then a few months and then, you finally get one, but, someone who's, sleeper / under the radar / not really recruited by anybody else. It's still worrying and concerning, that we're not, perhaps, doing a little better here. And, it's kind of like the people that have got on the threads after the game and were like, I don't care about his vaccination status, but this is a bridge too far. And I'm like, how do you separate these things? Right? Like I don't know how you can separate all this. And so you could say, the recruiting, it's just a coincidence that the recruiting is, really slow right now, but I don't know. Is everything a big coincidence? Like seemingly everything's going wrong. The fact that we're not, landing more commits right now. I don't know how you chalk these things up to, there's a lot of coinkydinks, right? A lot of coinkydinks happening right now. So.
Yeah. So, but hey, part of the reason, like, in past years, we could easily have episodes every week in the summer because you just have commits roll in and things like that, and you'd have things to talk about. We've just had things not to talk about, and obviously the pandemic kind of makes you just not feel like doing anything. But yeah, so it's been hard to just be sitting on 7 commits for 2 months. And like you said, this is not. It's not 100% unique. Arizona State has 5. Utah only has 8. A lot of teams are sitting around 10. But then you're kind of seeing the halves. Oregon State's got 20, and they got 9 4-stars and a 5-star. And USC's got 10, but they got 2 5-stars and 3 4-stars. So even Stanford's up there. They got 7 4-stars. Like maybe they're going to turn it back around, after they had some tough recruiting classes. So, but it's definitely, you can hope, when Leach had his best staff with Wilson and Big Joe and everyone, Joe Salavea, so that they were recruiting. They were recruiting at that level that you kind of hope that a good Washington State staff will recruit landing around the 40s and 30s, right around the middle.
That's
of the
right
conference.
where you want to be if you're Washington State.
There's a lot of work to do if they're gonna finish there, because even their average recruits, like if you look at the average ratings, they're low. They're the second lowest in the conference. So they're just to finish up in the middle of the pack. They're going to have to make to even finish kind of where Leach was finishing when all his good staff left. They're gonna have to do a lot of work, And if they don't, then there's some real
Yep.
concern about not even just this season, but what we could see going
Yep.
forward.
It's, the way I closed off, the opener to my column was, this feels like the frittering away of the leech years in real time. And that's the part that you worry about, is just like, just kind of watching it get dismantled in front of you. And, this would just be another, another way to, for that to happen. And so hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully, some things turn around. And, but, when I,
Hey, they got a kid to
Yeah,
Pullman and he committed,
absolutely.
so that's big. So maybe they can
get pull that
kids
off.
to Pullman. They have some nice two more September weekends, and then 3 games in October. You get some nice times to be in
Yep.
Pullman, and so not every time.
Yeah.
Is nice.
I would assume that they're going to have.
Don't tell me. Maybe not during the
Yeah.
6 month. I don't know. But
I would
yeah,
assume
but-
they're going to have a ton of kids for
um,
USC. So that would be
yeah.
my assumption. So
I mean, because even if USC slaughters you, the stadium's
Yes.
going to be full,
Yeah.
and it's going to be hyped, and plus also you want to play USC, like that, you want to be on national TV, all that stuff. You can sell all that stuff even if they beat you by
Yep.
5 touchdowns or
Yep.
8 touchdowns, whatever. So, but
No.
please not.
Please
or if they
no.
beat you 69-0, maybe that's a bridge too far. Maybe you can't overcome that. But yeah, because I still think, the USC game's early enough in the season that people can still
Yeah.
have some buzz. It beat Portland State. Now, if you lose to Portland State, people are still going to go to USC.
well,
I
tickets
think,
are already
but maybe-
purchased, hotel rooms reserved. I mean, like
Yeah.
me, like I bought the tickets, and so I mean, there's no way I'd be able to unload them for what I bought them for. And it's always good to go to Pullman, but those November games, man, those are going to be. Or November game, I guess it is. Couple of October
One,
games
on a Friday.
Yeah, those are going. Those might be a little iffy, man. They might be a little iffy. So, yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
But I got to see the Valley
Yes,
of
you
Pullman
did.
this weekend again, and that was wonderful to be there on a football weekend again. Obviously, we were there like a month ago.
Nah, it's different
but
on a
still,
football
like,
weekend.
It's definitely different. We got in, and it's just my dad and I had fun doing Pilsner Fest on Friday night, but just getting onto campus on Saturday, I saw some diehard Cougs post about complaining it was the worst Saturday Pullman, nothing was open, blah blah blah. There were some facts in there, some definitely lack of facts, and then also just if you've been going for 30 years, like what do you ever do when you're in Pullman? Like, so this person was complaining that Ferdinand's wasn't open. It was open for 4
Yeah.
hours,
Like it is every football
every
weekend.
Saturday football game. It was open 2 to 6. So how did that's everyone told us that like the parking attendants were telling us that Ferdinand's is open 2 to 6. So you can find that information out if you want. But apparently you've never noticed, even for going to Pullman for 30 years for football games, that Ferdinand's is open for 4 hours, and it's always later. It was 2 to 6 because the game was late. It's usually the 4 hours up until the game, up until the gates open for the game. That's usually around when Ferdinand's is open. It'll probably be 10 to 2 or something on this Saturday. So that's if you don't know, he did complain, the only thing open in the Cub was Panda Express, which is true. We went up to the Cub to get some food, and it was only Panda Express, but whatever. None of the other food, Cougar Country's not open there yet. None of the other food in there is that exciting, so I don't know what you're hoping for. The kind of not very good Mexican place in there, or Subway, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Cougar Country, it's right down on the lower, when you walk in by the stadium, it'll be right there. It'll be a cool location. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I mean, we got with the tailgate. We had a blast tailgate.
I know. I saw the
Big
pictures.
Katie's
I was
tailgate.
so I was having
Yeah.
some serious FOMO.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of people again that I just haven't seen. I got to see Theo. He came down, hung out for a bit. Got to meet Michael Sean Duger. That was cool, and I got to meet Brenna Green, who did that story on me tearing my Achilles. So that was neat. You know, there's just a lot of people in Pullman. Got to meet Jamie Vinnick for the first time. He and his younger crowd were very excited to participate in Pilsner
Of
Fest.
course they
So
were.
I appreciated that. They're excited to this guy just giving them free beers.
That's
Just
when you're in your early to mid 20s. It's like it doesn't even matter what's coming your way. You're like, yeah, I'll take one. I'll take 5. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, they were like, okay, can I spin the wheel again?
How many Dave Matthews Band songs did they have to listen to though?
One of Jamie's friends had to do Dave Matthews, but definitely had some of the other things. But making the Wizard stats was super fun.
That's
where
fantastic.
You duct tape every can you've had. But yeah, so that was a blast. Had more dip. My sister made her buffalo chicken dip, which was delicious. Shout out to everyone who got to eat that. I know Mike was real into it. But yeah, I was there with my dad. He was having a lot of fun. Part of, I think it was a perfect weekend for Pilsner Fest because we were drinking all day. And so, Pilsner Fest, 4 to 5%, you can just put those down, you're not getting drunk. But yeah, and then so, shout out to Sherwood, gave me his club tickets, so we got to sit in the club. Got to meet Woolly Bugger, or I've met him before, but got to see Woolly Bugger. And so that was fun. And we had fun up there. And shout out to Rochelle, who came and bought me another Pilsner, the cheapest Pilsner of all, Miller Lite. But still is a fine
I think
Pilsner
Miller
beer.
Lite is
Shout out to Rochelle.
easily the best light beer. Mass-marketed light beer.
It's because
that
it's
you can
Pilsner.
buy. So,
yeah, it's because it's Pilsner. But yeah, she came over, cheers to the engagement and all that. So that was cool. We talked, and she was there when the whole Cam and Cooper debacle happened. So we were just, got to be like, what the hell is going on? Like, go Cougs, I guess. But yeah, so, that was fun up until the last 8 minutes of the football game. But, we got up on Sunday, and kind of one of the things I was most hyped about was getting lunch at the Coug and then going to the soccer match. That was super fun. We got into the Coug, saw where I wrote Craig and Amanda on the wall in a place that they don't paint, of course. That was fun. Kept Pilsner Fest rolling there with a Drew Brew Pils. Got a chicken sandwich. They had food this time, Jeff, because they're actually
fantastic.
Open now. Yeah, that was fun with my sister and her fiance Mark and my little cousin Iris. It was cool to have lunch with them before they left. They had to go. They didn't stay for the soccer because really, if you're staying for the soccer match, it gets over at 3. You're getting home late. So yeah, but in the soccer team, jeez. And I know you watched it. On the stream.
I missed.
You missed a few goals because you got there too
was
late.
farting around with my Apple AirPlay because it wasn't wanting to work, and so I turned it on in about the 12th minute, and it was already 3-0. So. Yeah, but I got to see 4
really
more,
cool.
so
yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, that was nuts. They were very clearly better in every way.
It looked like they were playing a JUCO or
physically, skill. It
was
bad.
It
was. I kind of felt bad for White. It was. Our girls were bigger and faster and stronger and more skilled on the ball. It was. I would say like we've had all year, the goalies kind of stepped up for them. Otherwise, it probably could have been an even bigger deficit. But yeah, got to see Elise Bennett make some spectacular plays.
was good to see her kind of get rolling because there's a lot of me that feels like she's kind of the linchpin to really unlocking this thing. They really struggled last year with just sort of out and out scoring. They just were not good at finishing their chances. And right now this team, first game of the year, it was like, oh my God, here we go again. Right? Like they, took, 20 or 30 shots or whatever it was and ended up, tying that first game. But since then it's been, they have been clinical. They have been ruthless.
Oh yeah. So Frimpong Ellertson's opening goal, she took it from outside the box, buried it, one-timed it, and buried it. Elise's 2 goals were really good. One, she just, she called for a ball on a run down the left wing, and then just cut it back and just buried it in the corner. Unsavable for Hawaii's like kind of short, like 5'6" keepers. Like that's all they had was like pretty short keepers. Like so, and then her second goal was just savvy as hell. What looked like would have been like kind of a 50-50 ball with the keeper. She kind of played the keeper a little bit, and then just perfectly slotted it by her. When she kind of got the keeper to commit to going after the ball by kind of slowly moving towards it, and once the keeper committed, she kind of turned on the jets and then just slid it by her. It was very impressive. Definitely the type of stuff you want to see from a striker. Obviously we had a couple, had some goals from center backs, and it was I don't think in all the soccer matches I've attended, I don't think I've ever seen one team score 7 goals. So
that was a new one for me. I think
impressive.
Sounders have scored 6 in games that I've watched, but
yeah,
I mean, it could have been 10. Like, I felt terrible for Hawaii.
Yeah, it was probably just one of the most dominating, one-sided, lopsided matches I've ever seen. I will say that our friend Matt was 2 rows in front of me, and he got to he's the biggest number 1 WC soccer fan, and he was there right in the front row, smartly in front of like the little press box thing they have in the shade. That's why we chose to be there, and then he happened to be in front of there too. Although that only lasted for the first half. Second half, that sun started hitting us. But yeah, it was a blast. My dad, he was really excited that we went to that. We had a lot of fun. It's a cool little atmosphere, little vibe they got going there. I bet there was around 3,000 people.
That's amazing.
They do. That's another Cougar corner kick, and then people are complaining that they don't do the Cougar growl anymore after the first downs, but they do them at the soccer matches. So if you're missing that, go check out a soccer match, and then every time WSU has a corner kick after the first one, they play it. So, and apparently in that first match against Arkansas State, they had like 30, so they had like 22 corner kicks or something. So you would have heard that a lot. You heard a lot that I think they had quite a few corner kicks. I got to the point where I was just like, I'm gonna video the corner kicks, and I bet I catch a goal, and I did. I caught a goal on video, which you don't do very often outside of like a free an advantageous free kick or a penalty shot at a match. You usually don't have the goal on because you're not like holding your phone out all the time. So I would just hold out. So I caught a goal, so that was fun. The 7th goal. So maybe the celebration was not quite as enthusiastic as it was for the first 6 goals. But let's hope it
translates to Pac-12 play. It's always tough to know how much non-conference play really matters. But like anything, goal differential or run differential or point differential, any of these things that we look at is usually a great indicator, of stuff. If you're playing a weaker opponent and you're beating them, 7-0 or 4-0 or whatever it is, as we've been sort of trouncing people, like that's nothing but good sign. So hopefully we're on the revenge path from last season.
Who I always like to refer to as Coug legend,
yes,
Jimenez, because she had the winning goal that sent them to the College Cup against South Carolina. She is so just like so much of a presence in person. Like she's big, she's strong. She just doesn't take shit. Like she just cuts out everything. She's very good at coming forward and setting up, the offense. I think of like when we're watching the Sounders, what like Arriaga always tries to do, and to like sometimes good results, sometimes terrifying. But she's always kind of taking a few extra dribbles up to midfield and setting them up with the pass. And they actually scored some goals, and they have scored goals in the past from her doing that. So she's just real fun to watch on the back end. Just an absolute force, and she was just so imposing in person to see. And a part of it, you know, those Hawaii women were not like super big, but like at the same time, she was just a very imposing force. So it was exciting to see her in
Yep.
person, because you don't like you don't get to watch the defenders as much when you're watching on TV. But just watching the way she positions herself and the way she reads, just our defender back line is very good. So I just you see the way they read the ball and the way they position themselves. It's kind of stuff that you feel like is going to work against a better opponent, right? And obviously they have not allowed much so far. So I'm hoping, the defense is a strength, and then if they can get Elise and crew up front finishing their chances, hopefully they'll be looking good.
Yeah, it's exciting. I try to get them on, get them on the TV whenever I can. I did look at the schedule. It was like, maybe they're home the weekend of USC. They are not home the weekend of USC.
No, the next time they're home on a Sunday is after BYU. They do have some Thursday games, so that's like for the tailgate, the RV crowds that roll in. But I'm still bummed that they didn't put a basketball game on the day after the Friday Arizona game. But yeah, so I'd like to see more potentially like Friday night soccer matches, but I know you kind of got to separate soccer matches out a little bit more. Not like volleyball, where you can have like Friday, Sunday. So they got to go like Thursday, Sunday. So that's the more typical thing. So if you can usually you can get that hotel on Thursday if you want. If you're wanting to go see them, it's pretty. Especially if you're working remotely or something, you could probably get that hotel on Thursday for a lot cheaper than you're paying on Friday and Saturday, and check them out. And I'd highly recommend, because they're super fun to watch, and the atmosphere at the matches are great. And so. Just get some beer flowing in there. It'll be even better. This
kind of stuff makes me want to move back to Pullman, man.
It was like I was thinking that whole time when I was sitting at that match. I was like, man, this is like going to football games is one thing, because you can go to the football games and you don't live in Pullman. That's fine. But when you're at like a soccer match and you're just like, man, if I went to Pullman, if I lived in Pullman,
I could do all of these.
All of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so they got Thursday night, this Thursday night. So if you want to go to Pullman an early day, you can watch them play Seattle.
That should be another decisive victory, as it were.
Well, that Seattle U is let's see. Yeah, I guess they kind of were tough last year. They played them in Seattle. I think they were a tournament team 2 years ago. I don't know. We'll see, but hopefully it is.
I think so.
Yeah.
I believe.
And then
I believe.
You believe. All right.
Yeah.
So, Pullman was great. Everything was good outside of that. The weekend went incredibly well, except for like 8 minutes of football. Yeah. Man, I just looking like Preston just published his podcast. We're recording this. This will be published tomorrow. You guys are going to have plenty of content to listen to about a game that you probably never want to think about
ever again.
Yeah, but hey, I appreciate you listening. If you're listening to this, you obviously like this podcast. Tell your friends about it. Also, I met some people this weekend just who were like, "Hey, I like the podcast, whatever." That warms my heart. Don't be bashful if you see me in Pullman. Don't just say hi. It's okay. Don't be afraid.
He doesn't bite.
If I respond awkwardly, it's just because I'm an awkward person. So don't take offense. But I'm happy, to hear that you enjoy it. It's good. It makes me feel good that we do it, give people something to listen to, and that they actually enjoy it. So yeah, I'll be in Pullman next 2 weekends. If you want to say hi to me, feel free. And it was good in Pullman. I got to talk to a couple people like that at the soccer game, which of course, if someone recognizes me in Pullman, my dad just like beams with pride, which is hilarious. So I'll be there with my mom this weekend. So if you want to do that in front of my
she
mom,
will also be
like
impressed.
beam with pride. But yeah, so if you want to follow us on, digitally and not talk to us in person, it's at the Craig Powers on Twitter for me, and at Craig W. Powers on Instagram. I especially rock the stories when I'm in Pullman. And that's where you see a lot more of the football stuff. But I'll post pictures here and there too. But yeah, and then Jeff is at Pod versus Everyone on Twitter for the hottest of hot, the heat, the melting,
Melt your face.
melting takes. You go to Jeff, melt your face. If you want to send us questions, comments, Jeff, sorry we didn't help you out with that stream on Saturday. Honestly, I don't know where to. Not you, Jeff.
I know.
Jeff
I was like,
emailed us.
what did I do?
don't know where to. I used to know where to go those things, and the SB Nation told us to not share them anymore, and so I don't look for them anymore. But so I'm not really sure where those are. I haven't looked at those in years. So I would say Reddit is the best place to look for that. But yeah, so yeah, send us an email, comments, questions if you have any of that. I can understand if you guys just didn't want to send any questions about this last game.
Yeah.
Not so fun. We'll be back with a Portland State preview later this week. So check that out. Unless you're just listening to this after that game, which someone told me they did do already. So I don't know how depressing our preview of Utah State was after we had just lost to Utah State. Probably not the most fun thing to listen to. So listen to them before, yeah, or listen to them after.
Either
it's
way.
fine. We're hilarious. Either way. But Jeff, so did you have anything you wanted to plug, or did I already do
you
everything
covered
for you? All right, thanks to Pretty Fair Beer for sponsoring the beer segment, and thank you to Randy England for our music.
Go
And
Cougs, Craig. Black Lives
Matter.
Matter.
Black Lives Matter.